So we're in the sugya of Ba'alav Imai, the special patur, the chiddush of if the owner is in the employ of the shayel, and then something occurs to the animal, then he'll be pater. He'll be pater. We saw Rav Hamnuna say two things. One, that he has to be in employ from the beginning to the end. In other words, he has to be from the time of the sheila to the time of the einis. He has to be. We paskin, as long as he was working there in the time the sheila took place, even if the einis took place after he ended his stewardship, he would be pater. In addition, Rav Hamnuna said it has to be in the same malacha. We paskin even if a different malacha. We paskin even a different malacha. Now, we said that yesterday. We took for granted that if you with it b'shas she'ela, you don't have to be with it b'shas shvuru mesa. Where do you know that from? Good. Where do you know that from? If they're b'shas she'ela, how do you know you don't have to be b'shas shvuru mesa? So to understand this Gemara, I think I'm going to do it outside a little bit earlier. We have two psukim. The first one is v'chiyish shalish me'im rayeo v'nishbrai meis bala v'im imay shalim v'shalim. And then it says the inverse. In ba'ala v'imay lo yishalim. Now, I could have figured that out. The fact that it says ba'ala v'imay shalim v'shalim. So Memela, I would know if the owner is with him, shalim v'shalim. So we're going to learn out from that the fact that it's repeated is to teach me that you don't have to be there the whole time. You don't only have to be there part of the time. Okay, let's go back in time. Machlokes between Rabbi Yoshia and Rabbi Yonasan by being Makalel one's parent, Le'aleinu. Right? We had a Havamina, Rabbi Yoshia had a Havamina. In order to be Chayiv, you needed to go ahead and be Makalel, both of them. You had to be Makalel both of them, because Rabbi Yoshia is of the opinion when the Torah says something, it means both. When it says two, it means both. It doesn't mean one or the other, it means both. Actually, part l'cha kosiv, right, until the Torah goes ahead and makes the chilik. So by the cursing one's parent, it said Kilel by next to the father and Kilel next to the mother to tell me each one separately. Rabbi said no. Rabbi said it's mashma both and it's mashma singular. So now this pasuk. So now you have two things. You have shale, and now you have nishba mace. So you would think you need both. According to Rabbi Yoshia, you'd have to be there at the time of she'ela, and you'd have to be there at the time of misa. Good. That's what you would think. What does the next pasuk say? And balav eini moy lo yishalim. So if the master is not there, then you don't pay. So why is it repeated? To tell me that you only have to be there one of them, not both of them. What's the one? She'ela. The Gemara will ask, how do you know She'ela? Maybe it means Shvura Mesa. And like Rabbi Yonasan, the pasuk is pretty straightforward. So let's begin the sugya. So again, yesterday we shlugged up Rav Hamnuna, and we said unequivocally that if you're there b'shas She'ela, you don't have to be there b'shas Shvura Mesa. And we're up to Tzadik Hey on the base, 2, 4, 6, 8 lines of Abaya. Okay, Kenny, we're starting from 8 lines from the bottom on Tzadik Hey Amid Beis. Abaya Sabalak Reb Yoshia, Umitaris Lekroy Reb Yoshia. Rabbi Sabalak Reb Yonasan, Umitaris Lekroy Reb Yonasan. Now, who are they? Again, Reb Yoshia says the Torah, it means both. So Abaya Sabalak Reb Yoshia, Umitaris Lekroy Reb Yoshia. Ba'alav Ein Imai, Shalem Yishal. Time of the less bitravayu. The reason he at the time of she'ela nor at the time of shavura. Again, like Rabbi Yoshia, it mean and it's if not unstated, it means both. So it says over here, it's mashma. He pays. When does he pay? If he was there by neither one, he wasn't there b'shas the she'ela. And he wasn't there in his employee, and he wasn't there at the time that an illness happened. Ha'isya b'chada, v'lesya b'chada pata. Now, mashma, if he was there by one and not the other, you'd be potter. One, then what? You be potter. The reason why he does pay is because he was there by both. He was there both by Sheila and by Shvura Mesa. In other words, you have conflicting inferences. The first pasuk says you pay. When do you pay? When you're there by neither one of them. But if you're by one of them, you potter. The second one says that what? That if you are there by both, you don't pay. Mashma by one, you would pay. So how do you reconcile the two? Says the Gemara, to teach you, if you're there at the time of She'ela, you don't have to be there at the time of Shvur Mesa. Like, it's not possible to go ahead and have a conflicting pasuk, so we're going to make a pshara. What's the pshara? The first one's mashma, one you pata. The second one's one you chayiv. If you're there b'shas she'ela, you pata. Okay. If you're there at the time, so now guys, if you're there at the time, when are you going to be chayiv? If you're there at the time of Shvura Mesa, you have to be there at the time of Sheila. That's the way Rabbi Yishni is going to pasuk. Rav Saba Amid Aleph, like Rabbi Yonason. He also like Rabbi Yonason. Yonason says that it's mashma both. It's mashma one. At Yipar Lecha Kosev, Derech Shepar Lecha B'Shar V'Chamar Yaktav. It's mashma either one or both. Rav Saba like Rabbi Yonason. Mataris L'Kroi Rabbi Yonason. The Tani in Bolav Imai. If the master is within his employee, lo yishalim. Now, mashma this b'travayu is there both by the sheila and by the oinis. Umashma nami the chiisya b'chada v'lesa b'chada plata. Because again, he holds only one. Uksiv bolaveni moy shalim yishalim. Mashma the lesa b'travayu. Mashma, when is he going to pay? When he's not there by both. Mashma nami the chiisya b'chada. Mashma also, if he's there by one, v'lesa b'chada chayiv. That you will be chayiv. Lo yimelacha. Hayim b'shas sheila ain't tzarich liyasima b'shas shvura mesa. Hayim b'shas shvura mesa tzarich liyamas b'shas sheila. Okay, I went through that quickly. The bottom line is, everyone holds that what if you there b'shas sheila, if you're there b'shas sheila, you don't have to be the shas shvura mesa. Fed the Gemara eipachana. I'd say the following: even if you're not in the employ in the time the animal was borrowed, if you're in the employ by the time the animal was damaged or died, you'd be potter, right? But the answer is chayiv. In other words, why did you opt? In other words, guys, like the limud, as long as he's there by one of them, you potter. Why do we opt for being there besides she'ela to potter? We could just as easily go ahead and say, what? If he's there b'shas shvura mesa, as long as he's in the employ, when it died, you'd be potter. Why do you opt that he's there b'shas she'ela? That's what. So eipachna mistaba. Let's say the opposite. If he was there b'shas shvura mesa, you potter. Says the mistaba she'ela adifa. To be in the employ at the time of the transaction of borrowing is a stronger reason, because it's bringing in this reshuslein tashlumin. In other words, this animal is yours. You're lending it to me. At which point in time do I become responsible? When b'shas she'ela. So since b'shas she'ela, it comes into my jurisdiction, it makes sense that what? That the patur takes place what? When does the patur take place? When it's in your jurisdiction. Says the Rabbi, Shvuru Mesa Adifa. The time of the Einus is stronger. Shekin Chayiv Weinsin, because then what? You would be what? You would be Chayiv Weinsin. What happened? What happened? No, I don't know. I got a phone call in the middle, but it should be here. Let me see. Oh, yes, you're still here, right? Guys, you still can see me? Where's that?
Yes, not everything's fine with the Zoom.
Okay, so why can't I see you? Everything's fine with the Zoom, except now. Oh, okay, good. Anyway, so Fred the Gemara Kasha like this. You know, we just stated, as long as you're there together at the time of what? Of Shvuru Mesa, at the time of Sheila, you potter. as long as the owner is in your jurisdiction. Spread the Gemara, what? Let's say the other way. Says, well, it makes more sense. Since at the time of She'ela is when it's nixed into your Rishus, then Tashlumin, it will make sense if he's in the employ. Says the Gemara, let's say the time where the actual Chiyuv does take place, which is the time of the Oinus. Then it's more important for the owner to be in your employ at the time of the Onus. That would make more sense. Says the Gemara, Eloi She'ela, if not for the fact that it's in your Rishus, Shvura Mesa Mayavid, there's no din of the Oinus. In order to be chayiv, you have to be a shoyel. If you're not a shoyel, says the Gemara, V'ila Shvura Mesa She'ela Mayavid, and if not, it's symbiotic. What are you going to do? If you don't have a Shvura Mesa, so shoyel, it's more adif because even if nothing happens to the animal, you have to go ahead and feed the animal, guys. So since you have to feed the animal, and it's the beginning of Tashlumin, put this together in L'chayr, and you have what? A reason why you're chayiv. So again, Yotzei Midvareinu, fellas, Yotzei Midvareinu, that a person, the chiyuv of the patur of balav imay, the patur is what? Is when there's you're there b'shas she'ela, not sure makes. Now, this is a huge chiddush. The whole it makes no sense. The balav imay, it really makes no sense. If you look at Taisus, the third Taisus on the page. V'yesh leim the hasam svarahu sheyishalem lefi ma shegonav. Avol she'ela b'bailim ain't svara liftar. She'ela b'bayim is no svara that you should be pata. In other words, this is this is it, and we're fitting in the halachas of it. And what the halacha is that what you should be. If you're there b'shas she'ela, then you're pata. Doesn't it make sense more than the other one? A little bit based upon the Gemara, but again, I just wanted to point out from Taisus, it's a huge chiddush. This whole patur of balav imay is a huge chiddush, right? It's a huge chiddush, and it applies to Shem Esachar, and it's machlekes whether it applies to Shem Echinam as well. Machlekes whether it applies to Shem Echinam as well. Rav Ashi says from the pasuk itself, you can learn that he has to be the b'shas she'ela. Rav Ashi Amakra. What does the pasuk say? If a person borrows from his friend, and his friend is not with him, shalim mishalim. But if his friend is with him when he what? B'shas she'ela. In other words, I don't need a svara, guys. It's a pasuk. The pasuk says if the man is the shas she'ela from his friend, right? But when his friend is not with him, then you pay. But if his friend is with him, then you pater. Then why do you need the word balav? You're learning everything out from the Reyehu. Guys, if you're learning it from the Reyehu, what does that have to do with balav? Look at the pasuk. It's balav imay, balav einimay. L'chayr, according to you, it's just dependent upon Reyehu. It says when you love Hanach, if not for those pasuk, have amina urchayu the kra. I would say me'im Reyehu, guys, is not a limud. It's like who's gonna lend you something? Your friend. So I would say like Dibur Torah Klashim B'Yadam. I would think that that's the Torah speaking that way. Kemash Malom by telling me balav imay to darshan what? If you're then you pay. But if your friend is with you, then you don't pay. So we have it's either svara, either limud from the fact of when Abai is learning according to Rabbi Yoshia, Rabbi Yonason, Rav is learning Rabbi Yonason, that the limud that the counterintuitive, of course it's mashma two, mashma one. How do you have a hechetimsa? One you should be chayiv, one you should be pater, right? One pasuk says you're chayiv for one thing, one pasuk says you're pater for one thing. Where am I pater for one thing? If he was there b'shas she'ela. When am I chayiv for one thing? If he was there b'shas shvura mesa. Eipachna said the opposite. No, we said we figured out that what. Okay, so guys, that's Yitzim Rabbeinu. If you don't understand the blessed thing I said this evening, just one thing. That what? The patur of balav imay is when you're there at the time of she'ela. Tanani ben Akasha, you can go Yaakov. Anyway. Okay, very, very interesting shot. Now, guys, I want you, so we're discussing what the patur of balav imay, right? Now, this is the next piece of Gemara. Boy Roim Barchama, Shala L'Rava. He borrowed the animal for the purpose of doing an aver with the animal of snus. He borrowed the animal for the purpose of doing an aver of snus. Mahu, what's the din? Now, how do you learn pshat? Does this have anything to do with balav imay or not? What?
Yeah.
What? So you would think that what? We want to know, is this a regular shayla or not? That's the way you would learn. It's funny because I would learn that we want to know if balav imay is also, in other words, it's a continuation of the previous Gemara. Would you have the Torah of Balav Imoy? So be'emes it's a machlokes Rishayim, as we'll see. Okay, so now, says Rashi, guys. Says Rashi. Shalol Rava, who atzmai? He himself. No, it's no, just himself. Mahu. Mechayiv ba'ain sa'ilai. Is he chayiv in ein or not? In other words, is this a classic she'elo or not, guys? Is this a classic she'elo or not? A classic she'elo yechayiv ba'insin. If he borrows it for this reason, or yechayiv or not. Now, what are the stadim of the shayla? What are the sides of the shayla? Mahu. Kideshali inshi be'inin. You have to have a normal borrowing. V'lohachi lo shali inshi. People don't borrow for this reason. Idil matayim ma'im yishamana. The reason you borrow an animal, you have use of the animal. Okay. Okay, like this. When you borrow something, you're going to borrow the animal to use, right? You're going to in the field, you're going to use it for a ride for your kid's birthday party. You're going to use it for a normal thing. I'm borrowing the animal for the purpose of snus. Is that considered she'ela or not? If you're telling me that the purpose of she'ela is a normal, what people normally use it for, then this would not be she'ela. And therefore, if something happens to the animal in my jurisdiction, I'd be pata. I didn't borrow the animal. You would be pata b'insin. Conversely, if the purpose of borrowing an animal is for hana, so as bizarre as this hana is, it's hana, and therefore you be chayiv b'insin. That's the way Rashi learns. And Rashi learns that all the shilas are like that, guys. Look, follow along. Next shilah. Shalo lirois. You want to be a besser mensch, right? You want to show off. So you borrow something. You borrow an animal. Oh, guy's going to say, look, he's got this zaftik looking cow in his yard. Wow, he must be a rich guy. Mahu. You need money, and it's money. You need tangible hana from the physical thing, not an extraneous hana, such as people thinking you're wealthy. Next shaila. You borrowed it for less than a shava pruta. Mahu. Right? It's money. I don't know. Less than a shava pruta is not money. Shalosh te paris lasses ben pruta. Mahu. You borrow 2 cows to do a pruta, half each. Mi amin and zilbas shoyel umashal. You go after the transaction and you have a pruta. I don't know zilbas paris to go after the cows. You call chad v'chad lekem amayna. In each one. So now let's just look. So Rashi says this is nothing to do with balavima. It's just a classic shaila. Now guys sent out. Go take a look on your phone. I should have sent it to everybody. I forget you with food. I don't know what's with you. Like, I don't know what happened to you. I know what happened to you. You were born. Huh? Yeah. Okay, guys, you can see this. Ashel. You can see this. The Ashel as a behema, bebailim. No, you
Not
can't.
now. We had one.
It was on before for a second.
This one. What do you see? You see the psukim or you see a Rambam?
Right now, we see
Kenny.
nothing.
You see nothing.
I see Kenny.
You see Kenny.
See nothing.
Center square.
He's your roommate.
This.
Kenny's in the Paul Lind area.
Okay, here you go.
Good.
Says the Rambam. Ashoylas a behema bebailim l'rava. Clearly, he's learning not like Rashi. Guys, look at it. How do you learn the shaila? You're borrowing the animal bebailim l'rava. So he's learning it's a continuation of what? Of balavimai. Oy lahares ba, or to look rich. Oy lasses ba pachas mishava pruta. Oy sheshol shtei paris lasses behem. Shava pruta. Hari kol elu safik shela b'bailim. These are all safik shela b'bailim. So clearly, the Rambam is learning this is a continuation of the sugya and not like Rashi, right? According to Rashi, we want to know if it's the same regular shela or not. According to Rambam, we want to know if the Patur Balavimo is this. Now, look at the Maggid Mishnah, the guys on the side, on the left side, the Maggid Mishnah. Ashalas behema b'bailim l'ravoy laharisba, pirish shu asher, that you should look like a wealthy person. Ve'elu adinim boyis b'gemara. These are questions that were asked in the Gemara and Daf Tzadik Vav. V'lo yivshitu, and we didn't come to a conclusion. U'v'gemara lo yaskiru bailim, and be'elu hashelos. The Gemara does not mention anything about the Baal in these shelos. Ella shalol l'rava mahu, lirois ba mahu, pachas mishava pruta mahu, shtei paris lasle mishava pruta mahu. Does shal min hashutfim v'nishal lecha mehem v'nir? Okay, it does not mention what? Anything about Bala Imai. V'nira das Rabbeinu shekulan kisheshalom bebailim heim. All of these questions were bebailim. V'akol nimshach acha shal min hashutfin shehi b'din shela bebailim. All of these are connected to the din of if you borrow from what? From two shutfin, which is clearly a din of shela bebailim. You want to know if you borrow from one, if that's enough of his bailis, we're going to see in the Gemara. Al Rashi zal pirish arba boyos rishaynais beloy bailim. V'zel shaynai shalol rava hu atzmai. Those two words. Mahu mi mechayev bain seha eloi ad kan. V'atam mi aminan shela shechayev toira bainsin dafka kedeshali inshi like a normal shela. V'chein bekulam all the other shaylas whether it's a normal shela or not. And here's Geshmak, guys. Ulafi pir is zeh Rashi b'shela b'bailim vaday pata. According to this, vaday shela b'bailim, you're going to be pata. Guys, watch. Look at me. Guys, look at me. What? Come on. Chaim, do me a favor. Just, Avrami, don't hide behind me. I can't see. It's ridiculous. Move over a little bit. I thank you. What? Listen. According to Rashi, according to the Rambam, it's a shayla of a shayla b'bailim or not. Good? But clearly it's a shayla, yes? According to Rambam. Yes. What's Rashi shayla? Whether it's a shayla or not. So miman of shaf. If it's a shayla, then what is it? It's shayla b'bailim, and you pata. And if it's not a shayla, you pata because it's not a shayla. So mamanashach you pata, says the Maggid Mishnah. Guys, in other words, we remain in a bayad ifshita. We remain in a bayad ifshita based upon the Rambam's the way the Rambam learned, but the way Rashi's learning the shayla, vada you're gonna have the patur of balavimai. Why? What's Rashi shayla? Is this considered shayla or not? So now what? If it's considered she'ela, yes, it's no different than what? Any other she'ela b'bailam that you pata. And if it's not she'ela, then forget bailam. You don't need, it's not she'ela. It's not a normal she'ela, not a normal borrowing. And therefore you can be pata. So says the Maggid Mishnah quite beautifully, and that's why I brought it in, right? Quite beautifully is that like Rashi, right? Clearly there's no she'ela about she'ela b'bailam. Like the Rambam is taka shayla layivshita. Like Rashi, you can push it clearly that shayla b'bailim will be pata. Kishmak. I'm saying, but you hear the two stadim, right? B'manav shach, you're going to be pata. Very nice. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. A few more cases. Shoel mi shutfin. You go ahead and you borrow from shutfin. V'nishalei echamehem. And this is a case of Shayla B'Bailim. That's why the Maggid Mishnah said the Rambam was nimshach after this case, guys. You go ahead, you borrow from two partners, and one of them is you're an employee. Clearly, if one of them is an employee, it's a Shayla B'Bailim. So the Rambam said everything was nimshach after this case. So Shol Mishut V'Nishla Yachamehem Mahu. Hula Bolav B'Inyan, you need the whole Bolav. V'Haleka, you don't have it. Idilma Mehu Palga Didei Miya Mifta. From that half, you'd be potter. Shutfin sheshalu, shutfin that borrow, v'nishal echamehem, mahu, and your employer of one of them. Kula shoyel bein v'leka, you need all of that. Oidilma b'yipalga the shayla miyapifta. Shol mea isha, a woman has nichsei milaig, she brought into the marriage. The husband has the peiris, she has the guf, and someone goes ahead and borrows something from the woman. V'nishal baila ima, and the baal is going ahead and he's working. In other words, he's an employee, but he's not the owner. He owns the Kinyan Paris. Is Kinyan Paris Kinyan Aguf, and therefore what? It will be after Patur of Balavimoi, or it's not for Kinyan Aguf, and then you don't have it. Isha Sheshola, a woman that borrows. Vinishal Lebal, right? And the Mashal, the one who borrowed it, is in the employ of the husband. So a woman who borrowed, and the The mashal, the one who lent it, is in the employ of the husband. Mahu. Kinyan Peres Kinyan Aguf Dami. These two shilas is Kinyan Peres Kinyan Aguf Dami. Oiloi. Amalei Ravina Ravashi, another shaila. Ha'imel Shluchai. Someone says to his shliach, Sevi Shol Li Im Parasi. Go ahead, lend out my cow, and you along with it. So he says to a shliach, you lend out my cow, and you along with it. So what's the shaila? Is this shliach considered the owner of the cow based upon the svara of shluchai shaladim kamaisai? Mahu balav mamish binin. Do you need a real owner? Veleka, you don't have it. Ideal mashluchai shaladim kamoso, and therefore the patur of balavima would apply. The ikka. So we have two shilas, guys. That all these shilas we weren't ifshit any of them. The last two shilas we're going to try to be paishit. What are the last two shilas, guys? One of kinyan peris is kinyan guf, and one of the shluchah shladam kamaisai le'inyan sheila b'bailam. Some le'er v'achabrei the avular vashi baal regarding the baal, meaning regarding kinyan peris kinyan guf, pluked the Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish shliach that was shluch shladam kamaisai pligi the Rabbi Yonasan Rabbi Yeshia. Baal pluked the Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish the idmar amoicha sadei lechaveru leperis. Someone sells his field to his friend for Paris. So he retains ownership of the field, he retains the kinyan guf, and he sells the friend for Paris. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, now linyan bikurim, guys, you have to be able to say, to read the parsha, you have to be able to say, recurring by hine hevesi asreshis pri adama asher nasata li, that you gave to me. So obviously, if you have to say you gave to me, you must be considered the owner. Is ownership of the Paris and not the physical land considered ownership or not? Regarding reading, again, there's two parshias of Bikurim, guys, bringing it, and in addition to bringing it, reading it. So we want to know, if someone goes ahead, sells the field for 2 or 3 years, the guy's going to bring the Bikurim. The guy who bought it for the kinyan Paris, can he read or not? Says Rabbi Yochanan, maybe he brings Bikurim, the Koire, and he reads the parsha, because kinyan Paris is the kinyan Aguf. Reish Lakish Amar, maybe ve'ena kaira. Notice there's a mem by that. Maybe ve'ena kaira. He brings and he doesn't. Rabbi Yochanan, maybe ve'kaira, he brings and he reads. Kinyan Paris kinyan aguf dami. Reish Lakish Amar, maybe ve'ena kaira, because kinyan Paris is lavka kinyan aguf dami. This is one of 3 places, fellas, that we pass like Reish Lakish. So this is ayin Yavamis Laf Lamed Vav. The Gemara in Yavamis Lamed Vav tells us this is one of 3 places in Shas that we pass like Reish Lakish, that kinyan Paris is lavke kinyan aguf, and therefore what? You can't read. So who adin, guys, over here in our shaila, the owner, you wouldn't have the patur of balav imoy, because the husband is not considered what? His kinyan Paris is lavke kinyan aguf, and he's not the owner. He's not the owner. The isha is the owner, and the isha is not working for you. You're not going to have the patur of balav imoy. So we're pushing that shaila. What was the next shaila? Go lend yourself out with my cow. We want to know if your shliach is considered like the owner themselves. So shliach, the halacha by shliach, the question we had by shliach is pluked to the Rabbi Yonasan and Rabbi Yeshia. Is a machlokes in Rabbi Yonasan? Interesting. You don't have them that often, and now we have them in a few blocks. We have them a few times, right? Tanya, someone says to apotropis, that's a person in power of attorney. He's going ahead. He's going overseas. He tells his apotropis the following: listen, take care of my property. If my wife goes ahead and makes any nidarim, you can take it. You can be made for the nidarim. Good. Any neder that my wife would make that when I'm overseas, from the time I come until I return to this place, they should be mufar. The hefala yachal yehi mufar, and I might think that they're mufar. In other words, he tells the shliach, the apotropos, to take it off. Tamalayma isha yekimena isha. Isha yekimena. Her husband takes it off, can keep it. The isha yefirena, her husband takes it off. Divrei Rabbi Yeshia. Rabbi Yonasan Aimer. Metzia b'chol makam sheshluchah shlan kamaisai. So a very geshmak. Like Rabbi Yonasan, shluchah shlan kamaisai. You'd have the patur of balavimai. If a guy says, "Go ahead, lend yourself out with my cow," you'd have the patur of balavimai. Like Rabbi Yeshia, you would not. Like Rabbi Yeshia, you would not. So at least the last 2 shilas we can push it. Someone says to his servant, his Eved Kanani, say v'hishal in parasi, go lend yourself out with my para. Now here's what's the question. Even like the man the Omar, that shluchah shalom is not kamoso, over here maybe Eved is more the baal than a shliach, because yad Eved ki yad Rabbi. So would the Eved be considered what? Have the Patur of Bala Vimai. Mahu. Hiboy Laman Diyama Shluch Shalom Kamaisai. Hiboy Laman Diyama Shluch Shalom Eina Kamaisai. Hiboy Laman Shluch Shalom Kamaisai. Hani Mili Shliach the Bar Mitzvahu. Atem Gamatem. Ma'atem B'nei Bris. Avatem B'nei Bris. This guy's not a B'nei Bris, right? We had that by Truma. Atem Gamatem. Rabbi Shluchachem. That's when the Shlichus from Truma. But Ma'atem B'nei Bris. So this Eved is not a B'nei Bris. He's a Kanani, and therefore maybe even like the mind of a shliach would be considered the owner of the Eved, he would not be. It's a chesaron. It's less. He would not be considered an owner.
It's not a question. Why would a person want to loan himself out or
Again, we just want to know the halacha. This often Gemara practicality has very little to do with the lumdus of the Gemara. We want to know. In other words, to what extent do you have to be the owner? That's the whole Gemara. To what extent do you have to be the owner? Really, mamish the owner? Can you pay this owner? Shliach owner? Eved owner? How much? That's what the Gemara is going at. And it's just using this Heichet Timsa to illustrate the Shaila. So now, says the Gemara, Aval Eved the bar mitzvah who loy, he would not be considered the owner. I tell him the opposite. I feel the man the Amma ain't shluch shalom kamoso, even though the man the Amma Rabbi Yishaya that shluch is not kamoso. Hani mila shliach. Aval Eved yad Eved ki yad Rabbi damya. And therefore, what he would be considered the owner. So Amalei told him, said Rabbi to Rav Ilish, Mistabra Yad Eved ki Yad Rabbi Damya. I would say Yad Eved is ki Yad Rabbi, and therefore, if the Eved is lent out with the cow, you would have the Patur of Bala Vimai. Okay, nice. Boy, Rami Bar Chama.
What about cancel the Mizorim?
What?
What about the other one? Cancel.
That's a machlokes.
That's not.
a machlokes. Boy, Rami Bar Chama. Bal b'nichse ishtoi. Shoyel have or seicha have. Now, it's always good to see kasal kedaitach with Rashi. What we think right now. So Bal, in other words, you have ownership of the nichse miloig, meaning you have the kinyan peiris. That kinyan peiris, are you a shoyel or you a seicher? Now, says Rashi, kasal kedaitach lischayev ba'oinse behemais nichse miloig shelo shu oisa behen malachtoi. So your wife brings a shore into the marriage, brings a cow into the marriage. Do you have right to use it? Yes. What happens if something happens to it? Let's say this happens to it. If we view it as a seicher, you'll be potter. If we view it as a shoyel, you'll be chayev. In other words, do we view the Baal as a seicher? He's using it as a seicher, or he's using it as a shoyel. In other words, he has rights to use this animal. Now, how do we view his rights? Do we view him as renting from his wife, or we view him as borrowing from his wife? Nafkamina would be le'inyan oinsin if something happens to the animal. If he's a shemesh sacha, if he's a seicher, he'd be potter, because the seicher is at best the shemesh sacha, at worst it's the shemesh chiyuv, the opposite. And but a shoyel, if he's a shoyel, he'd be chayiv. That's the havamina, guys. That's the havamina of the Gemara. So Amar Rava, listen, guys. Rava said to Rami Rachama, from churfa shebishta, according to your sharpness, you made a mistake. Man of shach. He shoyel have a shela b'vaylam he. He sleicha have a schiris b'vaylam he. Guys, the wife is working for the husband, right? So she's in his employ, correct? So Memela, whatever you're going to consider is going to be pata, because you have the patur of balavimai. She owns the cow, but she's working for you. So whether you're a seicher or a shayel, said Rava to Rami Machama, lifi lefum churfa, your shaf shayla, you missed the boat. There's a basic point over here. Whatever she is, you're going to be pata. Whatever, if she owns it, you're going to be pata, because Meman of Shach, whatever you are, a shoyel or a seicher, it's bebailim. And we saw the other day that the patur of balavimoy goes to the parsha before, which is the parsha of Saimasacha, and you're going to be pata. Says the Gemara, Elaki kami boile. So that's the kasal gedaita, guys, and therefore we're getting off that havamina. Elakika kami boile l'mayim barchama the agra mina para v'choda naspa. He rented from her a para. And then he married her. Okay, then he married her. So now, no, guys, outside. What's the halacha? If you rent something and then you hire yourself out to somebody, what's the halacha? chayiv or pata. You have the patur of balavimai.
No.
Yeah, thank you. No, you have. Come on, the whole share is predicated upon this, right? So what's the shaila? So watch. Here's the Gemara's havamina. You rented out from this woman. There's no balavimai. You marry this woman. Good. Now, if you are a shayel, it's like a new transaction, and therefore it will override the schiris, because now you're using it because it's nichsei miloig, not because you renter it. So now she's in your employ, and if you're a shayel, you'll say you have the patur of balavimai. On the other hand, if you're just a seicher, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. You rented it before, you rented it now, and you don't have the patur of balavimai. Says the Gemara, that makes no sense. Wherever you are, it's a new transaction. So even if it's going to be seicher, it's still have the patur of balavimai. Okay, that's what. Let's see it inside. Says the Gemara. Here's the shaila of Rabbi Bar Chama. The agamina, he rented the cow from her. The agamina para. The hada nasfa, and then he went ahead and he married her. My shoyel have, and if it's a shoyel what, it's going to override the previous transaction, and you'll have the patur of balavimai. A seicha have, and it won't. Shoyel have the asya shel bebailim mafka schiris shaloi bebailim, and therefore you'll be pater. A dilma seicha have the schiris kidikaimi, and the schiris that was there before is there now. Read the Gemara u'maishna. The shoyel have the asya shel bebailim mafka schiris shaloi bebailim. The seicha nami have a teisi schiris bebailim and tepi schiris shaloi bebailim. In other words, good, you're a seicher. But once you get married, it's a nayas schiris. So if you're going to tell me shoyel overrides the previous relationship of renting, so too now you're a new renter, a totally new renter, and she's in your jurisdiction, so you'll be part of it as well. So that can't be his shaila. That can't be his shaila. In other words, as soon as again, you may call it the same thing, renter, but it's not the same. Because when she marries you, whatever took place before is different, because now you're using it not because she rented it to you, you're using it because why? Because it's nichsei miloy, and therefore, and she's working for you. So this can't be the shaila of Rabbi Bar Chama. If this is the shaila, I can be paisha unequivocally, you would have the patur of balavimai. Ella ki kami boy Rabbi Bar Chama. Where's the shaila? Okay, where's the shaila, guys? Is the Mishnah on Daf Lamed Hey? Guys, go back to Lamed Hey. I'm sorry for art scrollers. I apologize. You stuck? Okay, I'll say it outside. Lamed Hey on my base. Guys, Lamed Hey on my base. Listen to this. You all had problems with this Gemara. Someone borrows rents a parah from his friend. You rent it. And you know what you do? You lend it out now. The shila la'acher. You lend it to somebody else. Umesa. And an oinus happens and it dies. So you're a soicher, right? So what do? Yishava hasoicher shemesa kedarka. The soicher swears to the owner of the cow, it mesa kedarka and ampata. V'hashoyel uschayev mesa yishalom l'soicher. He's going to pay the soicher. Amrav Yosi keitzel leyosis charev hashach aferei elatachse par lebailim. So we have machlokes. Like Tanakama, if you go ahead and you're a chayev gneva avedi pata b'oinus. If an oinus happens, you lend it out, and an oinus happens, right? You can swear to the guy, an oinus happens, you get off the hook. And the one who borrowed it from you is chayev b'oinus, and he's going to pay you. So Rabbi Yosi, you're making money on the other guy's cheshbon, the other guy's coin. You can't do that. Elowat, he pays the original owner. Okay, that was the mark. Now, how does that come into our shaila over here? Let's see. The agri ihu para me alma. She rented a para me alma. She rented a para. Now, what does she do when she gives it to her husband? Oh, is he considered about a borrower or a renter? It's Kishmak Gemara, right? Kishmak Gemara. She rented it out, right? Now she gets married. He has rights to use it. How do you view him? Do you view him like a shayel, or do you view him like a soicher? Now, this would depend upon if you hold like Rabbi Yosi or the Tanakama. First, the Gemara. The agri par alma b'hoda nisba. V'aliv d'rabbanan the army shayel mishalim the soicher like tibayulach. Like the man the shayel pays the what, pays the renter. It's the vade not the shayla, the vade shayla b'bailam he. Vade is shayla b'bailam. It's shayla b'bailam, right? He's a shayel. She's working for him. She's his wife, and there's shayla b'bailam. You're gonna be pata. Ki kami boylach aliv the Rabbi Yosi. The Amar hachsa par l'bailim harishainim. Like Rabbi Yosi that she's gonna have to pay the original what, the original the rent rented to her. My shoyel have a seicha have. Is he what a shoyel or a seicher? If he's a shoyel, right? Again, like Rabbi Yosi, right? Right.
It's the same thing. If he's a soker, she's married to him. She works for him.
Again, but it seems to be. Let's see Rashi. Okay. The Valiba the Rabbanan, the din of the shoyel bahade the mashal who. The din of the shoyel is with the mashal. V'loy etzel bailam arishonim. So loy ti boilach is no shayla. The avilu who shoyel, even if he's a shoyel, even da boy shlume, since he has to pay her, pata the shayla of bailam he. Kiti boilach, and here's going to answer your shayla, Reb Avi. Kiti boilach l'Reb Yosi. The amat hashlumim lebailam, that you have to pay back the owner. V'hashta loy bebailam he. And now what? It's not bebailim. She's not the baal. My shoyel have mimena the shoyel chayev ba'insin u'mishalim lebailim. I seicha have upatami einsin u'maski rusoy u'maski reseha shay tiknu lachachamim perkuna tachas peiris and nishbas. In other words, if he's a shoyel, he's going to have to pay. If he's a seicha, he's not going to have to pay. If you view him as a seicher, she's off the hook. In other words, guys, Ruvain rented a shirt to Leah. Leah gets married to Yaakov. If you view Yaakov as a shoyel and the damage happens, Yaakov's going to have to pay Ruvain. If you view him as a seicher, just like Leah's pata, he's going to be pata. That answers your question. Okay. That was very Rocha Meshayla. What's the answer? Want a Jewish answer? You're not a shoyel and you're not a seicher. Neither one. It says the Gemara, I'm a Rava. He's neither one. He's like he bought it, and he's going to be pata. We had this quite a few times. The town of Usha, that's one of the places the Bezdin was exiled to. A woman shemachra b'nichsei miloig b'chayi baila umesa habal moitzim yalukuchas. So a woman sells her nichsei miloig. He has the king in Paris. She has the king in Aguf. She sells it. He is considered like Keach Rishon, and therefore any place it is, he can go ahead and extract it. So the answer to your shaila, you're not neither one. You're not a shayl, you're not a seicher, you're a keach and you're pata. Okay, boy, we're the following shaila. Baal b'nichsei ishtay mi mo'al. All right, guys, outside. Let me give you Gemara outside. We know Me'ila is a transfer of Hegdish. You either have enough from Hegdish or it leaves the Rishus of Hegdish. So if I have money, I don't know it's Hegdish money, I take the money and I spend it, I'm Moil. If I don't know, it's like, right? I'm Moil b'Hegdish, right? If I have Rishus to use the money, if I'm the Gizbar and I give it to somebody, then the person, he's Moil. But usually it's a transfer of ownership. So here's the story. A man dies, he leaves his estate to his wife, his daughter. He leaves his estate to his daughter. Among the estate is coins that are what? That are Hegdish coins. Now what happens? The husband is Yoirish, his wife. He in the property he has rights to use. In the Havmin of the Gemara, that's a transfer of ownership from the guy who died to his daughter to him. That's a transfer, and therefore we want to know who is Moil. Is he right? You're the son-in-law, right? So who's Moil? Who's Moil? Is it? There's three possibilities. There's him, there's her, and there's Bezdin, who made this takana. So let's see the Gemara. Me Moil. I'm a Rava. Man limel. Who's going to be Moil over here? Limel Baal. The Baal Moil, because he inherited what, and it's considered transaction coming to him, leaving the Rishus Hegdish. The Tera Nicha the Liknei. Isur the Liknei. He doesn't want to be kind of Hegdish to make it go ahead and leave Rishus of Hegdish. He doesn't want anything Issa. So why should he be moil? He wants to be squeaky clean. Timel ihi, that she should be moil because she's the really one transferring it to her husband. Like I spent the money, she's the one. 1 second. Forget about Yisura. She doesn't even want to go over heta to him. So therefore, Nimel Bezdin who made this takana, Rashi, Nimel Bezdin, Shal Yisrael, Sheba Dar, the Bezdin at that time, Shekol Takanis, Mishpat Tuluyaben, all of Judaic decisions. Not Judaic. Traditional. It's just Valyadeya Noigis Chukos Hamatukanim Litzibor, and they're the ones who enforce the takanas for the tzibor. They us Vavi Kamasha Tiknula Haim Kinyan Zeh. It's like they were attacking this Kinyan. They, by being makne to the husband instead of the wife, are the ones who took it out. In other words, we know it's taking out, guys. You can't say the husband took it out. He's only interested in the heta. You can't say the woman's out. She doesn't want to even give him the heta, right? So maybe who is makne it? The bestin. Says the Gemara, Ki of the Rabbanat Takanta, the Amru Bal Lekeach Havi, the Teira. When they made this takana, the Bal is Lekeach, that's the heta, the Yisur of it, Rabbanat Takanta. So who's Moil? Okay, so now we're having charata, guys. You know what? There is no mila when the guy dies. That's not a transaction. You know when the mila is? When the husband spends it. When he spends it. So we changed the havamina. Again, in the havamina, just the actual death and bequeathing was the hitzah, and that's the problem. But that doesn't work. Ella lashon charata amarava bal mol. When is the bal mol? The bal is moil when he spends it, not when he inherits it. That's not a transaction. That's not being mitzi from hegdish. It's when he spends it. Midi dehavi a mitzi moyes hegdish lechulin. It should be like being mitzi moyes hegdish lechulin. Okay, so we switched from initially we thought the mila was just the actual death and transfer. No, mila is what when he spends it. Iboilahu. You borrow an animal. This is guys. You say this to Gemara. You borrow an animal and kichesh basa machmas malach, and you work it. And as a result of you working it, the animal gets weaker. Do you have to pay for that? So you're working the animal. Do you have to pay if the animal gets weaker? So Amalehum Rabbanon, Rav Chilkiah Berei, Rav Avia Shmei, said the Rabbanon, his name was Rav Chilkiah, the son of Avia. Mechlal ki mesa machmas malacha mechayiv. You're telling me that if kichesh basa, if it dies, you're going to be chayiv? In other words, I'm using the animal, it gets worth less. So you tell me if it dies completely, I'm going to be chayiv, right? Lav lo'ukmi b'kilasa she'elasa. I didn't go ahead and borrow it to keep it in the canopy. I borrowed to use it. So l'chayra, that's the purpose. Elama Rava loimi boy kichesh basa machmas malacha depata. Not only if it gets weak as a result of working as a pata, and here's the famous Gemara, Elafila mesa machmas malacha nami pata. Even if it's mesa machmas malacha, it's also going to be pata. Mesa machmas malacha would also be pata. That's the Torah of the Shomer of mesa machmas malacha.